the effect of our decisions. That's what we're talking about today, folks. And we are up here in 2 picks. Best Ball Mania draft. Mike Randle here at FTN. And we are winning Best Ball Mania. I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to do it tonight. We are up right now. We have 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, and 1 tight end. So let's go through it and make my next pick. And then I will talk to you about my process and exactly what I thought here. Wide receivers available. Definitely going wide receiver. Yep, I got exactly who I want, and that's Sky Moore. Okay, so interesting situation here. We started at the 106. That was our first pick. And what we decided to do, just to take a look there, and I'll make it a little bigger so you can see it. What we decided to do, how's that? Probably a little bit better, I think. Yeah. So what we decided to do in our draft at the 106, I normally love to go wide receiver heavy. And what I did in this situation is I did not do that, because what I did is I want to have studs at each position. We've been doing a lot of research here at FTN. We've looked at a lot of different drafts. This is what we did here. We decided to go running back early, and I went with Bijan Robinson. Why? Because I think he is the clear dominant running back in Atlanta. They're a running back heavy team. The only team who ran more than them last year, the Philadelphia Eagles, of course. And a lot of that was Jalen Hurts, who coincidentally I got in the 2nd round as well. So we have Bijan Robinson as our lead running back here in the backfield. Then I went with Jalen Hurts. Now here's where I changed from my normal strategy. Next round, round 3, I went with Travis Etienne, which is something I don't normally do, but I did in this situation because I thought I wanted to lock up solid offenses and the main people in those offenses. And that's what I did here with Travis Etienne. So I actually went, this is unique for this stream that I've done here at FTN. I went running back, quarterback, and running back to start. Very unique. Why? Because Jalen Hurts is dominant, because Bijan Robinson is dominant, and because Travis Etienne is going to get the majority of the running back work in Jacksonville, an offense that I love in a division that I think is terrible. And I can pick up Tank Bigsby later to give me the team backfield drafting. Jeff Radcliffe here at FTN has done an amazing job, as he always does, giving you details on why you should team backfield draft. Now we're going to be up in 2 picks, so let's go back to the queue here. I have 1 running back, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end. I wanted to get an elite tight end, and I got Darren Waller. We'll get back to that in a minute. Now let's take a look at the backfield here. The guy that I want, who I'm trying to see if he's still left. I get him in about almost every draft that I can. Let's see. Jordan Addison. Yet James Cook went early. James Cook is going a lot earlier than I used to think he was, because people are catching on. No problem in this case. Yep. Going back to my guy here, Cortland Sutton. There we go. Let's go back so I can show you exactly how that looked. Here we started with, at the 6th pick, Bijan Robinson. Solid running back. Lion's share of the work. Great upside. Receiving game. Rushing game. Everything together. Then Jalen Hurts. Dynamic quarterback, rushing upside, huge blow-up potential, especially with a defense in Philadelphia that I think was questionable last year and benefited from the fact that they had a pretty easy schedule. 3rd was Travis Etienne. I just didn't love a lot of the wide receivers there. Deebo Samuel. I like Amari Cooper, DK Metcalf, T. Higgins, Terry McLaurin now injured. I decided to grab Travis Etienne because I think he's going to get the majority of work, and he can catch passes out of the backfield, and he's the lead running back there in a good ascending Jacksonville offense. Then for the 4th pick, I went Darren Waller. I've been impressed with Darren Waller. He had a couple drives there with the Giants. You saw last week with Daniel Jones. He had him 3 times on the first drive. He is the centerpiece. He is a mismatch problem. And Daniel Jones looks a heck of a lot better than Derek Carr did when he was with the Raiders, when he was feeding Waller, who had tremendous tight end seasons back-to-back there. After that, I need to go wide receiver. I waited until round 5 for wide receiver. So my plan here in this Best Ball Mania draft, dominant quarterback, dominant running backs, dominant tight end, and I will fill in with a large amount. We're going to pound with volume at wide receiver and hope to piece it together as the year goes on. I got Brandon Ayuk. I got Sky Moore. I got Cortland Sutton. So to me, I just got 3 wide receivers there. Ayuk, who's ascending. All the reports you read in training camp, he's dynamic. Deebo Samuel, his numbers with him without McCaffrey there have been very different. Ayuk is a guy who I'm getting here in round 5 that I think could have 80 receptions in that offense. Even though he's a piece, he's an explosive piece. Then you have Sky Moore, one of the 2 dominant receivers in the Kansas City offense, which I love getting. And then Cortland Sutton, who by all reports has been the best wide receiver in the Denver camp. So what I have right now as I'm headed into critical round 8, I have Sutton, Moore, Ayuk, 3 solid wide receivers. I have Darren Waller, a guy I got in round 4 who has top 3 tight end upside. In fact, if you told me that he was going to play 15 to 17 games, I'm up again. I think he would be a lock for that top 3 spot. Let's take a look here. Let's take a look at running back. Khalil Herbert, Gibson, love Brian Robinson. I think I can leave Brian Robinson one more time, though. Let's look at wide receivers. Michael Thomas has been fantastic. In fact, that's where I'm going to go. We're going to go with Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas has been very explosive with New Orleans so far, and Derek Carr looks like his connection is incredibly strong. So we have now started the 2 running backs, the dominant quarterback, what I think is a dominant tight end, and we have put this all together now, and what we have on top of this is we now have volume at wide receiver. So coming back up here on round 8, heading into round 9, that's where we're hope that we're going to go. Thoughts for running back here, and put any comments and questions you want in the chat. Please put them in there, and we will get to you as well. Lou Testa in the house. Lou, love Ayuk this season. I agree, Lou. Once, and this is what I want you to learn when you do these Best Ball Mania drafts. Once you have decided to do X or Y, once you have decided to end up drafting running backs early, or an early tight end, or an early quarterback, I also want you to consider what that means later in your draft. And I think later in your draft, what that means is you're going to have to volume wide receivers. A lot of times you guys have joined me in the stream and you've seen that I've ended up going with heavy wide receivers early. And in this case, when I do that, I end up having to piece together the James Cooks of the world, the Samaje P. Ryan, the Javonte Williams and Samaje P. Ryan, the Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert backfields. This time we went the other direction. So let's see where we're at here. I'm going to share with you something different. I'm going to share with you a different screen. Show you this one. Let's see what we got here. Take a look. So we're coming down to the end. There we go. Loading that in. We are a couple picks away. And what we have here is you saw A.J. Dillon go, Evan Ingram, Cam Akers, Rachaad White. Those are running backs that I don't want to mess around with. In this particular draft, I don't want to deal with stockpiling Rachaad White. He should have volume, but the offense isn't great. Elijah Moore, they have to figure out how to get him the ball, but they still haven't figured out how to get him the ball, and they're almost at the start of the season. Cam Akers, of course, a lot of questions there. I wanted to get security. So we're going to be up late. We're going into round 9. We have 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 4 wide receivers, which is great, and a tight end. Here I'm looking for value. Tight end, I'm going to pass on that because there's just a guys who are all about the same. Kadarius Toney, I don't trust him. Juju, Zay Jones, Darnell Mooney, none of those guys jump up. It looks like it's running back. Yep, and there's my guy. That's who I wanted, Brian Robinson. I understand that Brian Robinson is somebody who you're worried about. And I just put this in my article today. I had an article out on FTN where I talked about, I've talked in FTN about players that I think you are too high on. And in this case, I put Antonio Gibson in there because quite frankly, I think people right now are too high on, and I'll make it minimize in a minute when I get back to it. I think people right now are not thinking straight, that they are too high on Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson is a running back in Washington who has seen his receptions drop 3 years in a row, receiving yardage, his touchdowns. He benefited from incredible touchdown volume where he ended up having 20, he had over almost 20 touchdowns in his first 2 years, I think 20 or 21 on minimal amount of touches. His ratio of touchdowns scored to actual touches was something like 25-1. And I went back and I looked at Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb was 26-1 on that same time period. So I am not a fan of going with somebody like an Antonio Gibson. And people are talking about how Eric Bieniemy is coming over from Kansas City. He is joining Washington. And because of the work he did with Jerick McKinnon, remember last year, Jerick McKinnon back-to-back overall running back 1 performances in weeks 14 and 15. Just outstanding stuff. However, Because he did that, I don't get why that is going to necessarily be Antonio Gibson, who's going to be unlocked. Why can't it be Brian Robinson? Brian Robinson caught passes at Alabama. Brian Robinson is huge, 6'2", 220-pound running back, and you've seen him. When we watch preseason, we see things that sometimes mislead us, and we see things that are sometimes a window into what we think can go on. And I think Brian Robinson is a major, major part of this offensive attack. And I think we've seen with Antonio Gibson his ceiling. I don't think he's going to be used even more. You've seen Jahan Dotson excel. You've seen Terry McLaurin, who's injured, but certainly he's going to be a part of the offense as well. And I think Brian Robinson is going to be a massive, massive part. And Sam Howell's a guy who likes to run, who's mobile back there. I think he's going to open up a lot of opportunities. We are on the clock here in round 10. Again, taking a look at value. Quarterbacks, I don't think we need to go there because we have Jalen Hurts. Running backs, there's our guy, Tank Bigsby, and we're taking him because we want to lock up the backfield that we have here in Jacksonville. So our running backs are Bijan Robinson, Travis Etienne, Brian Robinson, and Tank Bigsby. That gives us the best running back in Atlanta. We can grab Tyler Algier late if we want a team backfield draft there and handcuff him. We have Brian Robinson, who I love over Antonio Gibson in Washington. I think he is a guy who could approach sort of low end or high, really high end running back 1 range, like a running back 15, running back 13, somewhere there. I really think he can because he's an integral part of this offense. I think he gets double-digit touchdowns. And Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne. Already have Darren Waller as our stud tight end. So what we're looking at now, and we're up in 8 picks, is wide receiver. So what we're going to have to do is unload on wide receivers. Now, who are some of the players we're targeting? Rashee Rice is somebody I compare with Sky Moore. I think Rashee Rice is a great value. Also, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, which is probably going to be where I'm going to go. If you look at our preseason roundups that we're doing each and every day, it is clear that Sky Moore and Marquez Valdez-Scantling are the 2 top receivers in Kansas City. When they are out there in 2 wide receiver sets with Travis Kelce, I want the guys that are going to be there. It is MVS and it is Sky Moore. So if we can grab both of those and put them with a Jalen Hurts, I would have liked to stack them with Patrick Mahomes, but Mahomes was not available. We ended up going with Jalen Hurts, who's another rushing quarterback. I love the way this team is coming together. Remember, when you draft in Best Ball Mania, it is not about just finding values. It's saying, this is my decision point. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to take a quarterback early, or I'm going to wait on quarterback. I'm going to go with robust RB. I'm going to go with hero RB. Or I'm going to go with zero RB, and then figuring out where the other values are that you can look at. Round 11 here. Looking at MVS, tight ends, Dalton Schultz, Higbee, Laporta, all sort of the same guys. Chio Kong, we've gotten a ton of so far. Romeo Doubs in Green Bay, not interested. Zay Jones, yes, with Jacksonville, but I already have ETN and Bigsby. It's too much Jacksonville. I don't necessarily need that if I don't have the quarterback. Darnell Mooney, no thank you. Michael Gallup, no thank you. Rashee Rice. There is Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who's going to be my choice, assuming he doesn't get picked. I also like KJ Osborne there, which is not a terrible pick either, because I think he's going to have solid value. I think he's going to be ahead. And yep, we're going to take MVS here. I think KJ Osborne is going to be ahead of Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison, again, diminutive in size, super fast wide receiver, not a guy who's huge, not a guy who's great with agility, didn't test fantastically well, coming in, could take a while to learn the systems. He's eventually going to be a solid part of this Minnesota offense. I just question when Justin Jefferson is getting the overwhelming amount of targets in this offense, and you have Osborne and you have Hawkinson, veterans who know the system. I don't know how much Jordan Addison is going to get. I think Jordan Addison is going to be outside of a wide receiver 3, outside the top 36. He's getting drafted right there. To me, that is his ceiling. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in. Got Tank Bigsby, got Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and I think I have a quarterback advantage here. Where my team, at this way this is drafted, the advantage I have is I have Jalen Hurts. I have a top 3 quarterback. So you could put me up against any other team. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, I have an advantage there. Running backs, Bijan Robinson, and Travis Etienne, 2 very solid running backs paired with Tank Bigsby, paired with Brian Robinson. You have those running backs there. That is a solid group that's going to give me a high floor each week. And look, I understand that by not taking wide receivers early, particularly here in a draft where you have to start 3 wide receivers, it's critical. I understand I have a disadvantage. I don't have a Justin Jefferson. I don't have a Cooper Kupp. I don't have a Jamar Chase. I understand that. But I'm going to have weapons in the Kansas City offense, and I'm going to have an explosive group with Brandon Ayuk and Other players who I think can make up, and we're trying to beat it with volume. Coming up here in six picks. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the chart here, see what's available. And if I take a tight end early, I don't like the idea of doubling up on tight end, getting two tight ends, because I think you're passing him too much value. I took Darren Waller early because I believe Darren Waller with the Giants is going to be an 80 to 90 reception guy and is going to be a dominant tight end in the NFL. I don't need to hedge and pick Dallas Goedert or Tyler Higbee. I can wait till later because I think on a weekly basis, Darren Waller is going to be the one who's performing for me. KJ Osborne is still there, which is fantastic. I also like Jonathan Mingo, who's a late pick, somebody you can look at late. Looking at running backs, there's Elijah Mitchell. Kenny Gainwell is a guy I really like also. I think Kenny Gainwell is going to be a big, big part of this offense. This is a tough call here. I can get other KJ Osbornes here. I don't think I can pass on Kenny Gainwell. I love Kenny Gainwell. Oh my gosh. Very tough. I'm going to take Osborne. I'm going to take Osborne because my argument was there. Gosh, I was hemming and hawing. That was so tough. I stuck to my plan. If I spent two of my first three picks on Bijan Robinson and Travis Etienne, which I did, and I team backfield draft with Tank Bigsby, I have invested a lot in the running back position on my team. If I'm debating between a wide receiver and a running back late, I think I have to lean wide receiver because otherwise, why am I taking wide receivers early? That's the sort of process that I want you to get to, that we're trying to work with you here at FTN. If you make those decisions, maximize your value, maximize your upside. I have invested early in running back, which means I expect Bijan Robinson and Travis Etienne and even Brian Robinson to a certain extent to play in those two running back spots. So where am I going with Kenny Gainwell? Am I getting a flex position? I guess, but I need to have those three wide receivers, which I think is so underrated here, which is why sometimes I start wide receiver. I go wide receiver heavy early and go 0 RB. If I'm towards the back of round one, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, double tap, something like that, because I want to secure that advantage over everyone else by having two wide receivers with 100 receptions. And then I end up poking around with a Javonte Williams or a James Cook, somebody to get my points there. But since at this time I invested early in running back, I think I need the depth here at wide receiver. And I now have 6 wide receivers through 12 picks of this draft. I'm up again in 6 picks. So looking at the wide receivers, I have selected Russell Wilson an awful lot. But in this case, when you take Jalen Hurts, that backup quarterback just doesn't mean as much. Jonathan Mingo, I love. I don't think he's going to be there. Looking at other people, Devontae Parker in an offense in New England is being very undersold. Michael Wilson, who is starring in 2 wide receiver sets. He's another guy that I really like. 3 picks left here coming up. And people like DJ Chark, I think in this situation that Mingo is going to be a force in this offense. Rookies tend to end up connecting with other rookies, maybe not right away, but as the season goes on. So we're waiting on our pick number 13 here. Make sure to put those comments in. Please let me know if this team is terrible or you love it or whatever. Please let me know. We have 1 quarterback, Jalen Hurts. We have 4 running backs, including a handcuff and a team backfield on 2 guys, a Travis Etienne, a Tank Bigsby. A Travis Etienne who's going to be between the 20s volume guy, and a Tank Bigsby who could get those high cholesterol, as Rich Rebar says, saturated in fat goal line touches so he can get into the end zone there. We got Darren Waller, a tight end, who could be the leading wide receiver for the Giants. He could be a Travis Kelce light, and we have loaded up with volume wide receivers, hoping that we can spin the wheel and end up getting 3 each and every week. We are 1 pick away here. We are up next. Let's see. He's got 6 wide receivers. Yep, and I got Mingo, my guy, anyway. Very happy about that. So our team right now, again, I selected at the 6th spot. Bijan Robinson first, heavy volume, running back that should easily go over 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns. We've seen it with Zeke Elliott. We've seen it with multiple first-year running backs. Saquon Barkley was incredibly dynamic in a giant run-heavy offense. And we even saw it with Najee Harris, who I know is falling out of favor with everyone, but I still think is the clear 65% touch lead RB in Pittsburgh. After that, Jalen Hurts, to have ourselves a dominant top quarterback in a scoring system here in Underdog that will reward your rushing quarterbacks even more than others. Travis Etienne, solid running back for Jacksonville. Darren Waller, stud tight end. And then we went Brandon Ayuk, who could be the lead wide receiver in San Francisco, as you see George Kittle continue to maybe not have as many receptions, but still a lot of touchdowns. And Deebo Samuel, who also can have injuries, of course, and has seen his numbers drop since Christian McCaffrey got there. Ayuk is a breakout candidate. Sky Moore, along with MVS late, who are both going to be on the field in 2 wide receiver sets in Kansas City. And we threw in Michael Thomas, who again has been out for a while, but is back. Derek Carr said one of the reasons he went to New Orleans is because Michael Thomas is there. Could be a player, high volume here, getting us those necessary receptions to add those extra points to our score. Let's see where we're at in the draft. There goes Roschon Johnson. Love Roschon. Russell Wilson goes late. Kenny Gainwell goes late. No problem with that there. Let's take a look here. Let me know in the chat. Let me know who you like here. Who are the players that you like that you're targeting around round 14, 15, 16, sort of late round people that you think can actually make a huge impact here. We are up in 6 picks as we're coming around to the next round, round 14 pick 7. So we have 7 wide receivers, things I want to start thinking about. I do need a second tight end at some point, something I'm certainly going to think about. I could use a 5th running back, could have taken Kenny Gainwell there, but I love the upside of Jonathan Mingle late, that wide receiver. I could have taken Kenny Gainwell also, just liked getting the volume wide receivers because, again, I made a decision. I chose to take a running back with 2 of my first 3 picks, so I don't want to end up with 6 running backs and 7 wide receivers, because as you hear from Tyler Lochner and the others and Sam Trudry, these great best ball minds that we have here, you want to select players that you think can actually score for you. Jonathan Mingo has the ability as a dynamic wide receiver to actually score for me midway through the year and make an impact. Kenny Gainwell could have a fantastic game if he's splitting touches with other running backs in Philadelphia and still not crack my lineup for that week because I chose to go running back heavy. We are up in 2 picks. Let's see what our options are. Tight end, Dulcich is not the pick. It's Adam Trautman. We know that. We are up now. Gerald Everett, Jake Ferguson, the starting tight end in Dallas, is something who's very attractive as well. Wide receivers, People Jones, Dankton, no interest in any of those. Paris Campbell, okay, so wide receivers out. Running back, Singletary, Kendry Miller, Tajay Spears is a great pick if Derrick Henry gets hurt. Ty Chandler is there. Quarterback, Derek Carr, Brock Purdy. A lot of options there. I'm going to go with the tight end. I'm going to take Big Jake Ferguson, the tight end for Dallas. There is my second tight end. That should be a solid duo there in the NFC East. Darren Waller of the Giants, Jake Ferguson of Dallas. So we still have the 1 quarterback, which is fine because we expect Jalen Hurts to dominate and play an awful lot. One thing I want to check out here, we can take a look. Jalen Hurts' bye week is week 10. So we'd like to have a quarterback that doesn't have a bye week on week 10. Let's take a look. Ritter is 11. Ritter is a guy I'm targeting. I think Desmond Ritter can be so much better than his ADP. He's QB 30, you see right here, right now. QB 30 here on Underdog Fantasy. Just entirely way too late for a guy who runs. Testa, Lou, what do you got for us here? Round 18, Quez is a dark throw for the takedown. I see it now. Yeah, Quez Watkins, great call by Lou Testa. He is saying that since I took Jalen Hurts, why not try to stack and get that sort of obscure player who could apps like a Tyquan Thornton did for Pat Kerrane winning Best Ball Mania last year, a player who's late. Absolutely, Quez Watkins, somebody is Lou that I can absolutely look at later on as well. We're coming up here in round 15. 5 picks. We're at 15.6. Pick 174. 7 wide receivers. That's solid. 4 running backs. Definitely I want to go running back here. I think Ritter will last. Again, Jalen Hurts is going to be I like Brock Purdy also. I can put him with Brandon Ayuk. That's a possibility as well. Let's look at the running backs. Spears, Foreman, none of these do anything. Kareem Hunt isn't even picked. Kareem Hunt's RB58. Nobody's even signed Kareem Hunt. Deuce Vaughn, I like. Ty Chandler's a guy who would be a target for me. Ty Chandler is the choice for me. Joshua Kelly late as well. Kyron Williams. Yeah, Keontae Ingram out in Arizona if James Conner were to get hurt. I think the move is Ty Chandler. I like Ty Chandler. I think he has standalone value. And, Alexander Madison was not efficient last year. He was not a guy who was very efficient. And now we're all of a sudden just assuming that he's going to be a dominant running back like Dalvin Cook was. That could be a big assumption. But Ty Chandler looked elusive, and he looked great. He's the guy I'm going to take here, assuming that Mr. Bobo Baggins is not going to take him right in front of me. I am up next. Bobo's probably going wide receiver, I would think. He only has 6 wide receivers. He got 4 running backs. He could do that. Who did he take? He took Deuce Vaughn, no problem. So we take Ty Chandler. And there's our fifth running back, a guy who actually has standalone value. If the Vikings come back to the pack, the Vikings, who had one of those seasons last year where I think they were 8-0 in one-score games, something crazy like that, or 8-1 in one-score games. If they come back to the pack, if their defense struggles, if they're chasing points and they have a little regression, could be a lot more passing, which may mean less Alexander Madison and more Ty Chandler. There we go. We'll pop up the screen. Irv Smith, Curtis Samuel. Yep, all those guys are there. Yep, so that's what we have so far. Love this team. Our build has been the following. As we are heading into round 16, our build has been this. We have 1 quarterback, 5 running backs, 7 wide receivers, and 2 solid tight ends. Fantastic team. Jalen Hurts, I'm definitely going to have to select a quarterback coming up. Could be Brock Purdy, could be Desmond Ridder, either one. Bijan, Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby to have the handcuff, Brian Robinson, and Ty Chandler. Wide receivers, we don't have 100 reception guys necessarily, but we have high volume guys in explosive offenses or explosive players. Brandon Ayuk, San Francisco's offense, but explosive player. Sky Moore, Marquez Valdes-Scantling in an explosive offense. Cortland Sutton, who's been fantastic in camp, all training report that are coming out about training camp saying he's fantastic. Michael Thomas, who could easily get back to 80 receptions with Derek Carr. KJ Osborne, who I think is the wide receiver 2 in Minnesota. I do not think it's Jordan Addison. I don't know if Jordan Addison is going to take it over this year. And Jonathan Mingo, the explosive rookie with Carolina, who I expect to have a lot of negative game script. Darren Waller, Jake Ferguson giving a solid production there at the tight end position. So we are at the start of round 16. It is coming back around to us. There goes Rashid Shaheed. And we are going to have to go for a quarterback. So you can see them coming through here on the clock. Che Thompson, not Clay Thompson. Very nice there. He's on the clock. He went Devontae Parker and then Chio Kongwu and Rashawn Johnson. And this is my point. Devontae Parker, yes, lead wide receiver in an offense, though, that may not be as explosive. Chio Kongwu, I like, but again, a run-first offense. Rashawn Johnson, love Rashawn Johnson. I just don't think he's going to do much in the beginning of the year. So we're taking players in these rounds that I think can actually score for us, or in a Ty Chandler case, have an upside in case of injury to be absolutely dominant. There goes Darius Slayton. I have a cousin who's a huge Giant fan who's going to be upset that he did not take Slayton. I understand that. Tank Dell goes, no interest in the Houston third wide receiver. There goes Bryce Young. We'll be up in a pick. It's amazing that Greg Dulcich is still there. It's incredible. Brock Purdy by 9, Desmond Ridder 11. Let's see. I do have Ayuk. There's a reason to go Ayuk with Purdy there. Running backs available. Foreman, Gus Bus. Nothing. So Josh Kelly, I like to get late. Is there a wide receiver that I'm missing out on? Justin Ross, Mechie, Michael. How about Michael Wilson? He didn't have any targets Saturday, but he's in wide receiver 2 sets there. He's coming back. Yeah, Michael Wilson. Let's take Michael Wilson. Yeah, Michael Wilson is one of the biggest sleepers in this draft. I get him in round 16 because he is, from all accounts, he is starring in 2 wide receiver sets, which is why you're not seeing a lot of them in the preseason. I understand that Arizona may not be great, but Kyler Murray is probably coming back at some point this year. And outside of Marquise Brown, it looks like it could be Marquise Brown and Michael Wilson. So Michael Wilson, who could be the wide receiver 2 on that team, getting him in round 16, Arizona, which is going to have to pass a lot because it's certainly not going to be winning a lot of games. Good value there. And that gives us, Michael Wilson gives us our 8th wide receiver. Great. So we have 2 picks left. So I'm looking for a quarterback, certainly. I like my tight ends. I don't know if I need 3 tight ends. That I have Darren Waller, who I expect to dominate, and I picked him to dominate, and Jake Ferguson, who, if he stays healthy, should be a solid part of that offense. I don't think I need that. And I like my 5 wide receivers. I think I'm definitely going quarterback in this round, and maybe quarterback one more time just to give myself some cushion there in case I need it. We are up in 5 picks. Yep. 4 picks now. You see me right in the middle of the screen. 1 quarterback, 5 running backs, 8 wide receivers. I like the 8 wide receiver build. If I go 7 wide receivers, if I have secured an Amon-Ra St. Brown and a CeeDee Lamb, or if I ended up getting like a Jamar Chase and came back with Chris Olave or come back with Amari Cooper. If I have two solid wide receivers that I project to be 100 catches or that sort of production, I don't need to have the depth because they're going to score for me most weeks. But in this case, where I don't have that because I went Bijan early, I ended up going with the 8 wide receiver build. There goes Kyler Murray. There goes Mayer. There's Ritter. Purdy had gone. That's fine. I don't have a stack in Ritter, but I do have Bijan Robinson, so that's interesting. And I think Ritter could be a very, very solid backup. Again, I expect Jalen Hurts to be my quarterback for at least 12, maybe 13 of my weeks. So I'm just trying to sort of pick around here and see what I get. And if you're going to take a quarterback early, you're taking him because you think he's going to be dominant. If he's going to be dominant, that means he's going to play most weeks. So you don't want to limit your upside by securing it too much. Don't want that. Josh Downs, Indianapolis, no thank you in round 17. Don't see that one at all. We are up next. Bobo Baggins has 2 quarterbacks, so we should be safe here, and then we will pluck Ritter. Yes, sir. It's been a very clean draft. I've gotten everybody I wanted. His bye is week 11, which is great. There we go. We draft Ritter. So we have Jalen Hurts and Desmond Ritter, and we have our last pick. So let me know in the chat. I have 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 8 wide receivers, and 2 tight ends. Where do you think I should go for this last pick? Lou talked. He said Hardy is worth a look. I get it. I kind of like your idea with Quez. I do like that one, Lou, but my issue with that is that I already have the 8 wide receivers. So I'm looking for somebody who can actually play and give me an impact. I like the stack. Dart throw, Ayuk. Yep. Let's see where I can go here. We are up in 8 picks. Tight end options. Dawson Knox. Get rid of quarterback. Sorry. Dawson Knox. Likely. No. Need an injury. Cade Otton. Mike Gesicki. No. Is Hunter Henry or nothing for me. Adam Troutman is a starting tight end in Denver, but he's doing a heck of a lot of blocking. Probably not going tight end. That eliminates it. Wide receiver. Shakir is dropping on the depth chart. Is Hardy still there? Deion Hardy is still there. Is Sherfield still there? I wonder that, Lou. Sherfield is still there also. And then running backs, Gus. There's Josh Kelly. I just don't know who the backup is. Chris Evan Hull, Tucker, Malik Davis, Spiller. That backup running back is important, but I did go running back early, so my lean. There's Quez. He's coming back 7 hours. He's been easing back in. I get that. My guy Marvin Jones, our CEO Kevin Adams would kill me if I took Marvin Jones here. How about Corey Davis? Corey Davis could be a player in 2 wide receiver sets and no one's talking about. He's tremendous value here. Only at 34, 32 receptions, though. He's always injured. All right, we're on the clock, our last pick. Don't want a tight end. We got 8 wide receivers. Do I take a quarterback? There's Tannehill, Mac Jones. How many times is Mac Jones really going to play for me, though? I don't know if that's really worth it. Probably isn't. Palmer, Mac Jones. All right, when in doubt, we'll go with Quez. Stack it up. You win. There's my guy. My guy will be happy for me there. Lou Testa. I got them both. I took it, Lou. You're welcome. There you go, folks. So there's our team. Let's review, and then we will get out of here. Thank you always for joining us here at FTN on the stream. I can't believe it. We're just less than 2 weeks away, pretty much 2 weeks away here from the start of the season. Incredible. Here we go. Jalen Hurts and Desmond Ritter. Took quarterback early. I expect Hurts to perform like a top 3 quarterback. I have no reason to think he would. In fact, he could be the overall QB1 if that Philadelphia defense is not what it was last year against inferior competition. Then Desmond Ritter at quarterback is the backup. They have different buys. Bijan Robinson, Travis Etienne with Tank Bigsby, Brian Robinson there, and Ty Chandler. I understand that's a little weak, but you have to give something to get something. I expect a big year from Bijan Robinson. I expect Etienne and Bigsby to be solid alternating work where one or possibly even both end up playing from each week. Brian Robinson, I think, is a stud who's very underrated. I think the Eric Bieniemy effect affects Robinson a lot more than Gibson, and Ty Chandler, who in case of an injury would go through the roof for Minnesota. Wide receivers, Ayuk, Sky Moore, paired with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Cortland Sutton, Michael Thomas. Just stay healthy, Michael, and get me those 90 to 100 receptions. Jonathan Mingo, explosive rookie. Michael Wilson, explosive rookie, who should have a big target share as the wide receiver too. And we chucked in Quez Watkins, Darren Waller, and Jake Ferguson. There we go, folks. There it is. FTN Fantasy, Best Ball Mania. If I win the million, we will celebrate together. Not just college basketball, not just NBA, not just NFL. Best Ball Mania is here, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. We're ready to roll. Please come to the site. We got FTN Plus, we got FTN Fantasy and Daily Plus. Huge discount flash sale only until August 26th. Thanks for joining us, FTN. We're just getting started.